Welcome everyone to the third annual Future Ready Librarian Fireside Chat. I am so excited. I've been looking forward to this all week long because I get to hang out with some of my dearest friends from the library and education world and all of you. And so we can't wait for this hour just to kind of wrap up what we've done as Future Ready Librarians throughout the year and to think about to the next year and what it looks like. So my name is Shannon McClintock Miller. I am a teacher librarian in Van Meter, Iowa, and I also serve as Future Ready Librarian spokesperson. You can find me on Twitter and Instagram at Shannon M. Miller. And I'm really excited to be here today. First, I'm going to have my friend and partner, Mark Ray, also introduce himself.
And my name is Mark Ray, and I'm part of the dynamic duo that has the pleasure of shepherding Future Ready Librarians at the national level. And I was a teacher librarian for 20 years at elementary, middle, and high school. I served 7 years as a district administrator, and I'm currently working with the Antioch University Seattle, preparing a new generation of teacher librarians in their educator preparation program.
I'm glad you're here today, and you look spectacular. So it's great to have you.
Well, thank you.
And next up is our friend Len.
Hey there, my name is Len Bryan. I am currently serving as the campus librarian at Spring Woods High School in beautiful Spring Branch Independent School District just west of Houston, Texas. I am a reformed library administrator at the district and state level in Colorado, Oregon, and here in Texas as well. This is year 24 in education for me, and learning something new every day.
Oh, thanks. I'm so glad you're here, Len.
Thanks.
And Bill.
Hi, everyone. My name is Bill Bass. I am not a reformed library administrator. I am actually practicing that right now in the Parkway School District, just outside of St. Louis, Missouri. And I am super happy to be here and just spend some time with you all. And I'm really looking forward to our conversation here.
Thanks. And Josh.
Hello, everybody. My name is Josh Stumpenhorst. I am in year 6 as a librarian in a middle school, but I've been in this building 20 years. I was a English and history teacher, and just, man, I should have made that move much sooner in my career because I love my job every single day, and anytime I can talk to librarians, it's a good day. So I'm looking forward to the chat today.
Oh, good. I'm so glad you guys are all here. It's going to be fun. And as for you, you know that we have the chat too, and you can use also, if you're on Twitter, Instagram, please share using our hashtag Future Ready Libs and Future Ready. And this is not just today, but it's always great to follow along in all these great conversations. But today we're here for a little fireside chat, and we've done this now for the last few years. And it's always great because Mark and I have reflected and talked and really thought about what is to come and what we've been through throughout the last year. And so we're going to have just kind of a set of questions today, and I'm sure we'll talk about other things too, as we always do. But we're just going to start with this question. As we close the books on 2021, what have we learned? That's a big question. So you guys can just jump in whenever you feel like you have something to share.
You know, I think it depends on who you ask. I think that in some cases, what we've learned is that 21 could be worse than 20 when it comes to our schools sometimes. You know, there was, I think about this a lot with my teachers and with my librarians, just, you know, last year, everything was unknown and everything, you know, like it was ever changing and all that. And then, you know, this year we're in it and we're making changes and all of that, but it's really, really hard. And so I think, you know, like that's one of the things that kind of the themes that I keep hearing is that, you know, people who have been teaching for years and been in the library for years, like this may be their hardest year, even not as a new teacher. So imagine being a new teacher and also living through this. I guess you don't know any better then at that point. But, I think that's one of the things that I can say that we have maybe learned.
Yeah, Bill, I could not agree with you more. And one of the things that I've learned is how much we need each other more than ever. And, I consider myself pretty connected when it comes to, if I need help with X, Y, or Z, or I need a book recommendation, I have I can name names and find people that can help me out. But I have found more than ever how much I need that connection, that support. A lot of times libraries, we can be a pretty lonesome group because, often we're the only one in our building, or we're split between 3 buildings, or whatever the case may be. And I have found more people going through the same tough year. And I think I've learned, not that I didn't know it, but I think I undervalued how important it is to reach out and say, hey, we're going through that too. Here's what's working for us. Or guess what? It just is bad right now. And we're just going to get through it. And just that the value of the connection, I feel it more than ever now, especially with the new folks. I'm mentoring a brand new librarian in my district, and I feel for her. I do everything I can to make her feel supported. And I think it's so important right now across the board, whether you've been doing this for 20 years or your first year, we need each other. And it's, I don't know if I learned it, but I think I learned its value is just so much higher right now.
That's something that to tie both of those together, Bill's and Josh's, that's something that really hit home for me, is that, this year has been another year of intense change. And one of the things that I've learned from this year is the type of service and support that I provide my teachers and my students looks very different than the last time I was in a campus, which, let's be honest, has been a hot minute. But I find myself doing a lot more social emotional learning and support. We're doing a lot more coloring and a lot more puzzles and a lot more yoga, and we're doing more reflective meditative type work with our kids and our teachers. And I'm still doing a high level of academic work, but not nearly to the intensity that we did before, because, Maslow's hierarchy, you got to take care of, those emotional needs before you can ever get to the high level academic needs. But yeah, I'm going through chocolate faster than I ever have before.
And that was a discussion we had a couple of weeks ago with the candidates in our program. And some of these folks are already in libraries, and other ones are kind of seeking to become teacher librarians. And so they're kind of planning for that. And, we had a really rich discussion about, what Josh was saying about supporting one another as colleagues, but also the need to be able to provide that support and to be the sane one in the library, because educators are really struggling through the transitions that are taking place. And, anything that the teacher librarian can do to provide kind of a safe space, not only for students, but also for adults as well, and also +1 on the social emotional learning, both for students and for adults. I just think that, just the level of anxiety is so high. And if the librarians can provide some leadership just by being a stable shoulder to cry on, or consigliere, or whatever role they might play that may have nothing to do with literacy or technology or maker spaces, it's just being there and being available for colleagues that have that need.
Yeah, I think about a lot, Bill, about what your librarians are doing, and his librarians, they were they were guests on our podcast, and then they were part of the last summit, and they're actually going to be guests on our January webinar, talking about mindful librarianship and libraries, and just really doing great things.
Yeah, I think so. To add on to that, not to that per se, but I do think that, one of the things that is positive that has come out of all of this is what I see is the not that librarians ever weren't valued, but the value add for librarians has jumped dramatically just because of, and not just because of, the pandemic per se, but just because of the way that librarians as a group have stepped up in order to support kids over the last 2 years, let's say. And I think, Len, what you were saying about with the social emotional, like that's part of it, but it's also, helping them to, I had one librarian who was telling me today, we have a student in a virtual school, and she had connected with one of our librarians. And yesterday, Amazon had a little hiccup going on there for a little bit. And the person that she reached out to, she couldn't get a hold of her teacher because she didn't have the Zoom link. The person she reached out to immediately was her librarian. Oh. And so like that illustrated to me really like, here's this third grader who already has a connection to a librarian that isn't actually a part of her program. And it was really great to see that and to like see the connection that person made on this kid's life simply by being that support structure. And so whether it's a social emotional or the instructional, or whether it has to do with resources, like the way that we have responded as a field in this time, I think is really, really something to celebrate.
Yeah, that's really great. I think that all the things that I have found, like even the podcast or talking to other librarians or teachers, and so many ideas on really what it means to just that relationship piece and what it is core to. Len, you were so inspirational when we talked at our podcast, and that really shined through, like the things that you're doing. And so I'm glad you're back in a library, my friend, because they need you there, right?
I am too.
It's a great one. So the next one, what has brought you professional joy in the last year? That is a good question.
I will say the same thing that's brought me joy now is the thing that I missed while we were all at home, because we were virtual for so long in my district. Just being with kids. I've always loved my work with students, for the past 19 years that I've been in this building. But I didn't realize how much I needed that until I didn't have it. And I didn't have that daily interaction with physical students. And so this year has just been amazing. To Len's point about SEL, the other day I was fixing a young lady's piece of jewelry that had broken that was given to her by a family member. That's not on the librarian handbook, but it was something that I did, that we provide these services, that there are days I walk in, most days, and I think, what's going to happen today? I have no idea. And that's the best and worst part about the job, right? You never know what the day is going to bring. And just, I feel the kids this year that we have are so craving that connection because of what happened the last, year and a half or so. And so the connections being made with students and with staff has brought me a level of joy that I don't think I've ever had professionally as an educator. It's deeper than it's ever been with the kids. And I hate saying it because so many people are struggling, but I'm having one of my best professional years of my career. And people throw things at me when I say that because I know how much so many people are struggling in teachers and stuff, but it's really been a great year with the kids.
I did a station in the library in homecoming week, and in Texas, we have these things called homecoming mums. And they are these crazy huge flower arrangements that our children, mostly young ladies, wear around their necks. And they are the size of car hubcaps. They are these just crazy floral arrangements. And invariably, when you wear something that weighs 20 pounds, parts fall off and things break. So I've always had a mom repair clinic in the library where there's hot glue and there's tape and there's all kinds of stuff. So that mom repair station was something that I had always done in the past. I'd forgotten about it because it's been almost a decade and I'm getting old. I set one up in the library this year at homecoming week, and the thing that struck me the most, I mean, the kids used it, they loved it, they were super grateful, but I got so many comments and emails from other teachers that were like, this is amazing. I'm so glad the library is providing this service. Thank you for doing this for our kids. And I was like, yeah, this is what we do. This is just one way we serve our communities. And that homecoming week, for lots of reasons, but for the mom repair clinic and all the great feedback that I got, really validated my choice to go back into a building and work directly with kids again. Kind of what Josh said, this hasn't been my very best professional year ever, but it's pretty close. I'm having such a good time reestablishing relationships with young people. And I think you're right. They crave connection and they crave the security of knowing that somebody in the building has their back, whether they need a good book or recommendation or, their little plastic football fell off their mom. It's a powerful thing that libraries provide to our students and our teachers and our community, that hopefully all of the communities that are represented on the chat and in Future Ready experience that security and that joy and that great positive feeling, because there have been some negative feelings lately. So it's good to hold on to that and really celebrate it when you get a chance.
One of the things for me, it's a big shift. I'm working less with in-service teachers and students, and in my work at Antioch, the opportunity to kind of work with and learn from the next generation of teacher librarians is really great. Here in the Pacific Northwest, we are losing library certification programs, and this is something that's happening across the United States. And I'm just really excited to be working with Antioch Seattle, because they've got a great program. And my colleague just the other day went down to Oregon, and Oregon has no programs for teacher certification, for teacher librarian certification, and was just having conversations with the state directors and has a partnership in place so that we'll be able to support Oregon educators that are interested in becoming teacher librarians. And so I've been working with Future Ready Librarians for such a long time, folks that have been in the profession and have built that facility and confidence, and working with these candidates who have some great ideas, but they're just in a different place, and it's really refreshing, and it puts a smile on my face. It's just really exciting, and the ideas that they're bringing forward are really innovative. I mean, they look at it from a different lens, and it's really exciting for me. So that's been my joy.
I think I would say that for me, my joy has really been through other people. As a library administrator, I'm not in schools every day, but I hear the stories, right? And I hear, even what Stacy in the chat, you're talking about having students physically back. Like that really is an amazing thing. I remember when I left the classroom, how much I missed seeing students every day. And then, adults became my students, and they still are. But even now, I'm kind of disconnected from some of our adults because of, protocols that we go through. But hearing the stories of the things that are going on, whether it is, a new technique that, or new activity that we're doing because we had to rethink the way we're doing makerspace suddenly because we can't have kids next to each other anymore and they can't share things. And so just even seeing that, for me, my professional joy is that ultimately, like, I'm in the background and I help set the stage for that. Like, I help make those things possible for our teachers through our policies and our procedures, and making sure that we're keeping our kids safe so that we can continue to have them in school. Like, those are the things that those are the things that make my days worth continuing to do the work, is knowing that our adults and our kids are connecting just on a daily basis, and how, especially in comparison with how disconnected many of them felt in the previous school year.
And I just want to jump on that, Bill, because I think people forget we need people like you. We need people like Mark, people that are training that next generation. And that's brought me joy, and that I have a couple directors at our district level that support the work that we do. And I think sometimes, I know I take it for granted that there are people like you that allow us to do our job and support us in what we do, because I know everybody here has probably either been in a situation or talked to somebody, in a library that doesn't have that support. So yeah, kudos to all of you Bill Basses of the world that are supporting us in the library doing this work, because we don't get to do what we do. And Mark keeps sending us good candidates. Like, that's joyful there as well.
Yeah, I'd have to agree with that. Like, and seeing some of the comments in here, the thing about just having kids back, right? Like that is the big thing. And having time just to, I'm sure you guys miss this too, but I miss just like sharing books with kids. I missed going to the classroom and reading books or having them sit and reading aloud to them. And it was those, little things I think that were so good. But for me, one of the biggest professional joys is that my teachers have always, I mean, I've been at Van Meter now for 15 years. And so I've gotten pretty good at collaboration, but it's always one of those really tough parts too. But I think finally our teachers truly understand like the power of what a librarian can do. And I've said this before, like, I feel like I'm raising all these little librarians at Van Meter with the teachers because they finally get like, oh, that's why she wanted us to learn how to use Destiny, or that's why she wants us to know what it means to curate resources or have a book club, with a different set of maybe a diverse book. And that makes me proud. Like that to me, knowing that our teachers grew so much and have really like come together to do what's best for kids and for our school is a true joy. I hope that continues because it's been really fun to see. It's made us better. So the next thing is, what are some things you're letting go of? It's a good question. It's a tricky question too, right?
Well, I mean, yes, it is, and no, it's not. I think it's hard to identify some of those things sometimes because we've been in such change. However, like one of the things that it's not for me to let go of it, but it's for me to encourage people to let go of. And that is the unwavering, basically, here's the thing, it's curriculum, right? It's curriculum. It's trying to be sure that we cover certain things. Letting go of that and allowing our librarians to be responsive to the needs of their community is the thing that has kind of gone a long way. Now, we didn't have the way that I've thought about this for many years now is that our curriculum in terms of the library is the curriculum of the district, right? So we don't have a set curriculum, but what I am encouraging our librarians to do is let go of it further and just be who and what you need to be in the moment for your students. And that doesn't mean we don't teach things, right? It just doesn't mean that we are beholden to a very specific set of activities or standards or things like that. We can do things that are going to bring joy to kids. We can do things, and I think that's what separates libraries from classrooms. I'm getting going, Shannon. Really sorry. But we can separate, like our the expectations from classrooms, because in the library, like we can do things that we don't have time to do in the classroom because we are beholden to a curriculum. And so we can find that time for discovery and exploration and joy and be able to bring those things in. And so, really, like I said, it's not mine to let go of, but I really encourage our people to not dwell on, we need to teach them how to do this one thing. We need to teach them how to do lots of things, but let's be more responsive as opposed to directive of the things that we are doing on any given day.
Yeah, Bill, I would agree with that. I've let go of everything this year. I'm always a fly by the, seat my pants anyway. But, my assistant just the other day was like, hey, Josh, are we going to do this Olympics activity in February with our Sphero robots that we've done, in the past in the winter? I said, I don't know. A lot of the programs that we've done in the past, we haven't done because that's not what the kids need right now. I have kids that want to come in and play chess at lunch, and that takes place of other programs, and that's what they need right now. That's what we're going to offer. And I have classrooms that just want a different environment because of other things going on in the building. I'm the catch-all, the other duties as assigned part of the contract, you know what I mean? And it's different, but I have to let go of the things that I want to do, things that I'm interested in, things that I know have done well in the past, because that's not what the kids need right now. That's not what the community needs right now. And I am lucky that I have built some pretty good relationships with teachers, but also with the kids right now, that I have kids that have no problem walking up to me saying, hey, Mr. Summer, that's dumb. We shouldn't do that. Let's do this instead. And then we roll with it. And they're doing it in a respectful way. And so for me, literally letting go of everything I've done, I have it all sitting there ready to go. I have it all prepared. We can roll with whatever we need to do. But we are definitely, like I think, Len said, there's a lot more coloring books and puzzles going out, far less drones and other things. And that's okay. That's the beauty of our job. Like you said, Bill, we're not beholden to that curriculum map. We're not, by and large, not a lot of accountability for what we do other than just being there for the people of the building. And it's the best part of the job. I think. I know some people don't operate that way. I like that. I'm good with that. I can roll with it.
See, and Josh, and I appreciate that you said that. And I would contend that we have a different kind of accountability, right? It's not that there's no accountability. And that's, there are times that it feels that way, but I think, like our accountability though, isn't just to a class of kids. Your accountability is to your entire school. It's to your entire community. And it's not just inside your building. Like it's anyone who comes in. And so I think that your accountability as a librarian is greater. You're just not accountable to a curriculum or a test. And so I think it's really, as I think about the people who are on this call, and I know that's not what you were saying, right? But I wanted to clarify, because I think there's people that are out in the world right now who would say, if you're not accountable, if we don't have accountability for you, then we don't need you. And I think that that's quite the opposite in this case. Your accountability is so much greater, because it's not just a subsection of your student body. It's your entire community. And you have more influence as a librarian than an individual teacher, or even as an administrator, I would say. Librarians, you have far more influence than I do. But I just hope to empower your influence and help you broaden that along the way.
Yeah, no, and yes, I know what you mean, Bill. I meant accountability is I'm not getting called in when reading scores or math scores are low on our state testing, which unfortunately in education seems to be the foot of everything that we do. And you're right, because we definitely we're accountable to everybody. You are exactly right. It just doesn't show up on the data dumps that we get from the district office from the state of Illinois, right? But you're right, and that's well said, because you're right. If you try playing it off, then the people say, well, we don't need you. And we see that far too often, schools, districts, states cutting, completely gutting the library programming. And we know that there's huge negative, impact of that when that does happen.
Based on some of the conversations I had with the candidates, we had again, this is very similar to some conversations that we've had in class. I think, I think letting go of perfect, I think is really hard for librarians to do, for educators in general, but for librarians in particular. And so I think, perfect, whatever that was defined before the pandemic, I think we just have to let go of that, and that's okay. I think of Joyce Valenza, who wrote a blog post 15 years ago and talked about all these things that we need to let go of in libraries. And I think in this era, this is a really good opportunity for us to kind of examine the ways that we've done things and to look things in the eye. To Josh's point, to say, what are the things we want to hold on to and that are important, and what are those things that, maybe we can put on the shelf for a while and make a decision in a couple of years as to whether they need to come back off the shelf. One of the things we have these reflective journals in my class, the class that I'm doing. And, people are really struggling with so much that has to be done and just all the anxiety within the school. And, we kind of got around to a place where I thought again of an article I wrote a few years back for Knowledge Quest that focused on this idea of that kid. And, what do future ready librarians need to do? They need to focus on that kid, one kid that has a need. And focusing on that may mean that you don't do something as perfectly or do a program or something that's a tradition that has taken place in the past. But in that moment, focusing on that kid and their needs, whether those are social, emotional, or literacy or whatever, I think you have the permission to focus on that kid. And that's a really easy way to strategize is, you stop thinking in terms of programs and systems, and you just think about that kid over there really needs my help right now. And that's what I'm going to focus on. And that might mean that the shelves are not quite as tidy as they were before, and the overdues get piled up and some other work doesn't get done. But I think that's what we need to be focused on.
Yeah, I think that somebody said something, it was Stacy Anderson in the chat about I'm letting go of all of the extra things that I get roped into. And I mean, we've all been there for those. And sometimes, we have to do those things, but I have gotten good at saying no a little bit more. And just like you said, Stacy, like staying in my library world, like really focusing on the things that maybe that we want to make a difference, and it's okay. But I find that it's also feels like it's okay to with the administrators and with, the people that it's okay to like push back a little bit. And that's in our own personal world too. I've gotten better at that since, through the pandemic, at just kind of saying no and focusing on us a little bit more too. So that does feel good. And keep putting things in the comments. It's so great to just read and not just listen to all of us talk, but feel free to put things in the comments too, because we want to hear what you have to share as well. So this is a big one. What are some educator resolutions for 2022? And I know that I always do this at the end of each year, kind of reflect on what I've done and look forward. And, there are a lot of, I find myself, asking a lot of questions, just like you said, Josh, like, will we do the Olympics and will we do projects that we've always done? And that's another thing I've gotten better at, is just kind of not getting so hung up on that and really looking forward to the different changes that are coming.
Our district had passed a bond a couple of years ago, and the library that I have moved into this year was recently renovated. And currently, it's a beautiful space, but it's I call it almost a pageant, a beauty pageant contestant, because it's beautiful and really attractive. But there's not much going on the inside because there's an equipment. We have an equipment backlog of supply chain and all that other kind of stuff. I've requested broadcast studio equipment, 3D printers, Cricuts, and cameras, and all the gadgets and stuff that kind of make a library a place to create and not just a place to consume. And for me, that's going to be my resolution for next year. Is currently I've got books on the shelves, I've got databases, I've got all the stuff that give you information. For the new year, I really want to focus on creation and giving my students and my teachers some of the best equipment that can be found, and some of the cool, and use some of our cool spaces in truly innovative ways. So we're not going back to the way we've always done things. It's really important for me as one of the leaders in my building to continue to push that envelope and continue to ask that question and force that conversation into the forefront of our thinking. Are we going to go back to what we've always done, or are we going to take the opportunity that the global interruption provided to rethink how we do school and to rethink how we teach and how we learn and empower our kids as creators, not just consumers of media and information. So that's my resolution that I'm super excited about. I can't wait to get my hands on all these gigantic boxes that are going to start arriving hopefully any day now.
So one of the things that I struggle with, because I've been in my building 19 years, as I said, and 6 years in this role. So a lot of the teachers I've known for almost 20 years now. So I'm friends with these people, and I know them, both professionally and personally. And so I'm trying to, one of my resolutions is I've never in my 19 years seen as much burnout, as much anxiety, dare I say it, educator depression. And just an overall lack of positive morale within my building. And in talking to other people, we're not alone. This seems to be, you know, every time I hop on Twitter, I feel like I see somebody saying, I'm thinking about leaving the profession. I'm burnt out. I'm this, that, or the other. And so one of my resolutions is figuring out what can I do to help that, whether it's just something as simple as I'm going to take your hall duty on Thursday. You are doing this project with your class and it's just, you know, somebody to supervise them, bring them to the library and you have the period off. Like anything that I can do in my role to lighten that load on a teacher. That's my resolution, is to keep thinking creatively about making their jobs easier. Because I can feel it in the building, you know, and I can be that resource, and that's what I'm trying to figure out ways. So that's my resolution, to figure out ways to make things a little bit easier for my colleagues, because they're drowning a little bit, and I want to be that, you know, that help if I can.
You know, Josh, along those same lines, one of the things that I feel like I have the ability to do, kind of as a resolution, is to celebrate what's happening in the schools more and to draw attention to it even more, right? I mean, it's one of those things that I always try to do, but being intentional about doing that is you know, just like everyone else, there's a lot happening. And, you know, like those burdens that we are all carrying right now are rough. And so I really want to, I guess, you know, my resolution as a whole is to try to bring joy into our schools in general, and in our library program specifically, but, you know, like really focus on joy. We've gotten away from joy, and we've gotten away from joy in education and in kind of in everything, really. I mean, you know, let's be honest, but you know, like if I can help to bring some joy into, you know, students and teachers' lives, that's really what I want to try to do this year.
Mark, do you have anything to share?
Yeah, this is, I guess, more topical. I'm really excited. Washington State has really made a commitment to media literacy and digital citizenship education in K-12, passed a law back in 2016. And we just recently funded a position at our state education organization, a person that's focused solely on media literacy and digital citizenship. That's her sole role. And she's a former teacher librarian, which is amazingly cool. And so there's a lot of energy here in Washington and also in Washington, D.C. I'm connected with some work there as well around media literacy and cyber citizenship. And, you know, we have a lot of colleagues, a lot of Future Ready Librarians who have written books about this and are really providing some leadership in this space. And so we're putting together an idea for a grant here in the Pacific Northwest to really train up some teacher librarians as media literacy facilitators, and we're hoping that that's going to be something that we can work on over the next couple of years. You know, it's one of those big challenges that's out there that really isn't getting much attention because we're really focused on the pandemic and just trying to survive the school year, but we got to deal with it. And so I'm looking forward to that work. And the great thing is that I can work with other teacher librarians and educators across the state. And so I'm pretty excited about that. It's going to be tough work and it's a tough topic, but there's going to be some good people working on it. So I'm looking forward to that.
That's awesome. I think for me, like just again, reading the comments and hearing what everybody has said is again, just going back to like the little things that we can do. And can't remember who was talking in the beginning about like the curriculum and really focusing on, you know, just being there to be helpful and being there to build on new things. And somebody mentioned like a stick together poster or setting up, you know, something like it's Computer Science Education Week and making, you know, things like Ozobots and interactive globes and, you know, even just quiver sheets available and helping the teachers like fill those times that maybe they need to have a break, if it's 10 minutes or 15 minutes or going in their classroom and reading a book. And those have been probably the most meaningful things that I have done this year. And it might not be these, great big long 4-week projects that we used to work on. But I think that it's almost more meaningful and means more to the kids and to that relationship. And so just, continuing on that road has been really rewarding, and I think will be, in the future too. And there's a lot of things I think also coming up, and, how we support. There's been a lot in the chat about teachers leaving and getting burnt out, and librarians. And one of my resolutions is just to continue to celebrate what we do as librarians and share our stories and share our voices, because we're going to see, I think, a lot of that as well with our colleagues that are librarians across the country and across the world. And so how can we, support each other too is a big thing. Lots to think about, right? The next question is, what is a favorite thing that you'd like to share?
All right, I'm going to share a ridiculous thing that
Wait.
I saw on Twitter, and I thought I gotta have this in our library. So we added a gumball machine, but it's not gumballs. It's those little bubbles that you can put little items. Used to be in front of the Walmart, the Meijer, whatever, at the store. Yeah. So we have one of these little machines in the library, and everything inside of it is created in the library. So our students laser cut little keychains. We 3D print little fidgets. We even did 3D scannings of some teachers and some students, and they have little figurines, which became a very hot commodity. People were trading a Mr. So-and-so for a Mrs. So-and-so. And it was ridiculous how fast we sold through 250 bubbles. And now I have more quarters than I have any concept of what to do with. And it's just been, like we were talking about, joy. It's a simple little thing, and the kids are going wild. It's just so much fun to see the kids create it, have fun with it, and just the ideas of things they want to put in the machine every day just makes me laugh, because they're junior high kids and they have some pretty ridiculous ideas.
That is awesome. Love that.
How do we get our hands on one of those? I'm sorry.
So just Google, just the Google. Turns out there's a company that's about an hour from me, and I took a long lunch, went and drove and picked one up, and we were printing and stuffing bubbles the very next day, and my assistant just shakes her head at me because she's like, "Oh, great, another one of these ideas, Josh."
I'm all over it. I love the fact that it's a quarter and can bring so much joy. I serve a pretty low income school, and I'm thinking about doing something for the kids that you can do tokens as well. So even if you have an issue with, you're talking about equity, you can hand out tokens for kids to check out books. There's definitely ways to do it. It's fantastic. Oh, I'm all over that. I love it so much. I saw the tweet, and it kind of in one ear and out the other, because there's nothing in the middle to stop it. So actually hearing you talk about that and see that, I can just imagine how much fun the kids are having with. We have some coaches who would make great figurines. I'm all over this. I can't wait. So excited.
So I'm not sure what my favorite thing is. I think that, like, I feel like what in my role, I collect stories from people. So now I have a gumball machine story. So that'll be fabulous to be able to share at different times. But like, my favorite thing actually is to, collect those stories and be able to share them, and, kind of bring voice to some of those, some of the unheard. And these are student stories, these are teacher stories, these are librarian stories, stories of schools that are doing just amazing, ridiculous things with or without gumballs. And I think that that's like, that really is the best, to be able to inspire people with those stories of, and they're not even mine, but I just have the platform sometimes in order to share those with people. So it's not a thing. It's not a, I guess it's still a noun, but it's not really it's not a specific thing like that.
So something that I've started doing is actually related to the fire behind me. I've started putting on the active panel in the library by the front door a calming scene, or someone mentioned in the chat a video stream, a live cam. The Monterey Bay Aquarium has a live shark cam that is very relaxing, just to see the fish swim by. And my students asked me about it at lunch, when that's when I have my biggest crowds. So why do you have an aquarium on the screen? I was like, this is great, because watching fish is so relaxing, and I don't have to feed them. I don't have to clean the tank. I don't have to worry about it spilling in the library and like flooding the place. I mean, it's the best of both worlds. And I've discovered the fire log, the Yule log, snow falling on pines. I mean, there's so many beautiful, high definition 4K videos out now, and they're just on YouTube, that have really helped kind of create that calming environment that I want to create in the library. And we can do seasonal type stuff like this. So for me, it's such a simple thing, and I've been called simple most of my life, and I really appreciate the things that are easy and simple and can contribute to a great atmosphere. And Shannon mentioned just having the doors open and being welcoming is so important. And I think having something environmental like this is just easy to do, takes a few seconds, and helps kind of create that Zen atmosphere that we're going for.
I love that. I know those simple things, right? I think it's so great. Well, one thing that I have been doing the last year is I have a really small library. We have a very small library at my school. And so we've been opening up all these little pop-up libraries all over the school. And so pop-up libraries for our capstone series in second grade, and an SEL pop-up library. And I'm actually the art coordinator at school this year, the art teacher too. And so we have a new art pop-up library, and we have seen the excitement around reading go up even more. Like, whoever would have thought that, something as simple as pop-up libraries around our school to get the kids just so excited, and to see them out at the shelves, and to see them talking to their friends when they're in the hallways talking about books. And the big thing is how excited the teachers are. And it has not only like expanded our library and the work that I've done, but right before I got onto the webinar today, I left our third grade teachers, and we're starting now a new third grade pop-up library with tons of book sets also from our friends at Capstone around the favorite characters and you choose. And that has been so rewarding, because we've done a lot of great things in our library around reading and books and lots of things that the kids will remember and the teachers, but this has been something that has really truly made a huge impact on our school. So that's probably my favorite thing, one of my favorite things. I could go on and on, but that has been really rewarding as a librarian and as a teacher too.
And I've got two favorite things. One's a small thing and one's a bigger thing, I guess. Is the small thing, and many of you probably are familiar with this, but I remember back in my elementary librarian days, the book The Snowman by Raymond Briggs, which is kind of a modern classic, and it's a kind of a complicated book because it has no words in it. It's a wordless book, and just some years ago, I discovered a BBC put out an animated special that is just amazing. And it's available through, I think, just about any streaming services. And for a long time, it was available on YouTube. And like the book, there's nothing spoken. There's a little narrator that kicks it off. And I think actually, I think it's David Bowie that does the voiceover for it. And then it's a completely silent except for the soundtrack. And there's an ethereal theme song that goes with it. And it's just really awesome. And I love holiday specials. And that one is just in a league by itself. So that's just a little thing. And then this is going to sound like I'm a shill for the house, but I really have appreciated the Future Ready Librarian community over this last year, and really am excited as we move into 2022. And Shannon's got a little bit that we'll be sharing here in just a second, some things that are coming. But I'm so thankful that Follett continues to be supportive of the work that we're doing, and we're talking about all kinds of exciting things coming in 2022. And the thing that I think that I'm so appreciative of and so happy about is that through all of the adversity that's taken place, not only just in 2021, but before that, consistently this community has stuck together and supported one another and kind of kept pushing and looking and aiming for the future. And I think that's so important. And the fact that we have people joining us today is really important. And I know that sounds like I'm just, like I say, shilling for the house, but I genuinely appreciate this community and the work that folks are doing and all the great things that are being shared, because it does make a difference. It makes a difference in the libraries and it makes a difference in the schools around the United States and actually now internationally as well, because for our summits, we're getting people from Asia and from Central America. I mean, we've got international folks, so it's really exciting. So I'm really excited about that.
Yeah, me too. I'm grateful every day for the community that we have. And it's been just awesome talking to all of you and also just in the chat, connecting with people. And so we have loved this year, and it's just exciting always to think, like today I was kind of sad because I'm like, wow, this is the last thing from this year, but Mark and I are super excited for things to come too. And so there's a few things that we wanted to share. There is a link here that goes to the website, the page for Future Ready Librarians. And our site actually has been updated and lots of changes coming to in the new year. One thing that I have just loved to do this year is talk to so many great librarians and educators during our podcast, Leading from the Library. And this is something that we just finished out our season 3. And so we'll kick off season 4 right after the new year. So please feel free to reach out if you have something that you want to talk about. And, this time of year is also a good time to catch up on some of these podcasts, and you can find them wherever you listen to podcasts. And even though I'm the one that have talked to all of the people, I just go back and I learn so many great things. And the same with our webinars. These are all recorded and all shared online. And we just had one in November, the 2nd annual Digital Learning App Smash. And again, I learned so many great things from 19 other librarians. And what we're doing throughout December is every day I'm sharing one of those different tools and apps. And so at the bit.ly at the bottom, you can find that. And that's what I do kind of in December is I go along with what I'm sharing just so I can learn and use things too that are different. And today is Kahoot, and I've used Kahoot for a long time, but I actually spent like 15 minutes this morning learning lots of new things that were available on Kahoot too. And so you can check that out and find lots of great things. We also have a lot of resources that are curated and shared in this collection by Destiny and also on our Padlet. And so if you are maybe new to Future Ready Librarians or looking for things maybe to share with your administrators or conversations that you want to have, you can check it out there. And of course, always ask questions and join the conversations that are on the Facebook page. And I just appreciate everybody in this group so much because there's been a lot in the last couple of weeks around book banning and around kind of closing out the end of the year before the holiday and things that we're doing, this year around winter and holidays or whatever it might be. And people have so many ideas and are so generous with what they share. But I think the conversation is what really sticks out to me too. And just like Mark said, just being so grateful for all of that. And so please be part of that group and take part in the conversations that are going on Twitter and Instagram and keep on sharing. And oops, I should have put 2021. Join us in 2021. It's 22 for a whole new season of Future Ready Librarian webinars and podcasts. And we're excited because there's lots of details coming soon. So please feel free to reach out to us if you ever need anything. And we're really hoping that you have a nice holiday season with your family and enjoy the last couple weeks of school too. And take a break, right? Take a break, everybody. Turn on the fireplace, even if you don't have one, just like Len has behind him in Texas. And yeah, take a break and know that you're all doing things that are making a difference and really making an impact on all of us too. Thanks, guys, for joining me.